Let's talk about Without Fail, a party game about completing crazy challenges. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald. In this episode, we are going to talk about the new game by the makers of Exploding Kittens. It's a game called Without Fail, which is all about completing insane challenges. You're going to feel like you're on a game show if you play this game. This is a game, it's a party game, so 2 or more players can play this one. It's a game that can be played by kids aged 10 and up, and games take, well, the box says games take about 20 minutes, but it might take a little bit longer depending on the players. Let's take a deeper look at Without Fail by Exploding Kittens. Without Fail is a super light party game. This is not complicated. There's not a lot of strategy here. But what you're trying to do is complete challenges in order to earn 5 points. That's how you win the game, is by earning 5 points. So you've got these little trophies that you're going to earn for completing the challenges. There are, I think, 150 challenges in the box. And even though the game itself is simple and it's a party game, it's not super strategic, you're not really planning or thinking ahead too much with this one, the challenges themselves can be made pretty hard. Each round, one player is going to be the challenger. They're going to take the top challenge card from the deck and they're going to set things up the way things are set up on the picture. Sometimes you're setting things up on the table, sometimes it's going to be on the floor, but it shows you what gear you're going to need and how it's going to be organized. Then you read what's on the bottom. You still don't know what the challenge is. The bottom of the card says, well, each other player can make the challenge harder by moving the pen closer to the edge of the table. So you've got a pen set up and you've got the timer in the middle of the table and a die, and you're moving the pen closer and closer. So one at a time, you're going to go around the table and the other players are going to say, oh, let's make it. They're not going to say it. They're going to physically move the pen closer to the edge. Oh, maybe I think you can do it if it's this close. I think you can do it if it's that close. Eventually, somebody's going to lose confidence in the challenger and they're going to say, I drop out. I'm not going to be involved in this anymore. You're going to want to be involved, though. You're going to want to watch what happens. But if you drop out of the challenge, you're no longer really involved in gameplay in that round. Finally, everyone's going to drop out except for the player who made it the hardest. So you're moving it closer. You're moving it closer to the edge. Each round, somebody's going to say, I drop out. I don't think you can do it. And then finally, you're going to have it as hard as it can be. The player who made the challenge the hardest is your teammate. Then what do you have to do? The challenger flips this card over and reads what it says on the back. And in this case, what you're trying to do is, from the opposite end of the table, you're trying to slide a die across the table so it lands between the edge of the table and where the pen was. So of course, if the pen is 2 inches from the edge, that's going to be a very difficult challenge. If you're successful, and I actually managed to be successful when I did this challenge, if you're successful, you and your teammate both get a point. That's something that makes this game pretty clever, because you want to make the challenge hard enough that you're going to be the person who's the teammate who has a chance to earn a point when it's not even your turn, but you don't want to make it too hard, because if you're unsuccessful, you and the teammate both lose a point. So you want to make it just hard enough, but not too hard, but you're trying to figure that out without really knowing what the challenge is until you've decided how difficult you're going to make it and you flip that card over. Like I said, some of these challenges are crazy. Players might be calling out numbers that are lower and lower, and that's how many seconds you have to do something, or how many pictures you can take with the phone. In this challenge, you need the phone. You're going to put a blindfold on. The challenger is going to have the phone in their hand with the Photos app open. Players have shouted out numbers that get lower and lower, and you only have that many number of pictures you can take. You're trying to, in 30 seconds, with a blindfold on, take a picture of everyone else around the table. Some of these challenges can be made pretty hard. Some of them are physical. Some of them are, think of as many words as possible that start with this letter, but you're running out of time and you don't know what the challenge is until the timer's starting. The challenge might be physical. The challenge might be memory related. There's so many different things that you're going to be asked to do in this game, 150 different challenges. And what makes it complicated or maybe interesting is that some of the setups are the same. So even when you're playing one game after the other, you're not necessarily going to know what exactly is on the back of this card. We had one challenge where This cup was placed somewhere in the room, and the challenger had to, with a blindfold on, drop this ball into the cup while wearing a blindfold. Their teammate was allowed to give them hints as they were getting closer and closer to the cup, but they couldn't use words or touch the player. So that made it very difficult to find where the cup was so that you could drop the ball inside. There are so many different things that you're going to be asked to do in this game, and 99% of the time, they're super silly. At one point, myself and my teammate had to run around the table with with their foreheads touching with the sheet of paper in between them. And we had to go all the way around the table within a certain amount of time. The timer was running without dropping the paper from between us. So the game is hilarious. What skills are you working on, though, when you play a game of Without Fail? Well, those are going to vary according to the challenge. A lot of the challenges do involve timers, either the sand timer or a phone timer. So we might be talking about processing speed or reaction time. Some of the challenges are about being able to think of words as quickly as possible, and that's language fluency is what we're talking about, being able to just quickly access your vocabulary in order to think of as many words as possible before the time runs out. Gross motor skills and balance are a factor as well. Like I said, you have to, maybe run around the table with a piece of paper on your forehead. We had another challenge where one of the players had to go around the table with a spoon balanced on his nose without touching it. There are challenges that might involve some problem solving or some maybe fine motor skills because you do have the pen and the paper. There are certainly elements of these challenges where you're analyzing risk and reward because you're trying to make the challenge more difficult, but not so difficult that the challenger can't do it and you're stuck as the teammate. You're both going to lose a point. You might want the challenger to lose a point, but you don't want to be the teammate who's also going to lose one. Final thoughts about Without Fail. Well, this is, in the style of Exploding Kittens games, this is a very silly, ridiculous game that is also super fun. We had so many laughs playing this game, and we spent more than that 20 minutes because we kept losing points because we couldn't always do the challenges. We made them too hard at first until we figured out that, okay, you want to make it just hard enough so that you're the teammate and then you can earn the points. The challenges are quite fun and they're entertaining as well. Even if you're not involved, you're not the teammate, they're still funny to watch the other player do those challenges and often to fall flat on their face while they're doing them. So that balance, I did like that balance. We all liked around the table that balance between making the challenge, not making the challenge so hard that you were going to be the teammate and the challenger would fail, but making it hard enough that everyone else dropped out. Sometimes with the younger kids, maybe we were a little bit easier on them than we would have been if we were with a bunch of adults. But everyone around the table was saying, oh my gosh, we need to bring this to the cottage when we're all on holiday together. We need to bring this to a family party because it is a really silly party game that, sometimes it reminded you of the kinds of icebreakers that you might do when you're meeting new people. For me, it felt like a game show almost, where you have to do some crazy stunt in order to win the prize. There really aren't, I can't think of downsides about a game like this. If you like party games and you like these kinds of crazy challenges, this is to me, this is a perfect game. However, you do need a lot of space, because sometimes you're running around the table, sometimes you're setting things up on the floor. You might spread things out by up to 15 feet, so you need some room in order to play. Well, like another Exploding Kittens game, Throw Burrito. That's one where you're running all over the place and throwing things at each other. So you need some space. You also need, I think, players that are going to be comfortable enough to be silly, because these things are ridiculous. And if you're too shy, if you say, well, I'm not going to put a spoon on my nose, well, it's not going to be fun then for anybody. Although I do think as players see their opponents behaving in those ridiculous ways, they might start to feel more comfortable doing the same. So it is certainly a way to get kids out of their shell and maybe out of their comfort zone, or adults out of their comfort zone, let's be honest. And there's so many challenges here. Maybe more challenges. There's certainly room for expansion of a game like Without Fail, but wow, we had so many laughs playing this game. So Exploding Kittens has come up with another party game idea that is super fun and ridiculous, and it's exactly what you want to have at a party. If you have any questions about Without Fail or any of the other things we talk about here at Brains on Games, you can leave them in the comment section below the video, of course, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.